If we start at the very beginning of the application and work our way through assembling our packages, we'll get to the very end and there will be a checklist. And as you go through the checklist, we'll find out that we haven't ordered things exactly as they were supposed to, or we have forgotten something. So what we're going to do is we're going to start at the end first. In the very last page of your packet, there is a checklist. Let's go through that item by item so that as we assemble our packet and we go through each page of the form, things will be in the proper order and be marked accordingly. Now on the checklist, you can see the very first item is to assemble the application and materials in this order. You want the checklist on top, so this checklist will be your first page. The Form 2848, Power of Attorney, you don't need that. The Form 8821, Tax Information Authorization, you don't need that. Expedited Request, you probably don't need that. Unless you know that you're going to get a grant soon. If you have this, I wouldn't bother with it. We got our filing back in 5 weeks after we mailed it in. You then want the application. That part's going to be 12 pages. And your Articles of Incorporation will go next. Amendments to the Articles of Incorporation in chronological order. You won't need that because you did it right the first time, so you're not going to have to include any amendments. Form 5768, you're not going to need this. All other attachments, including explanations, financial data, printed materials or publications, this is where you can have fun. What we included in this section of our packet was photocopies of newspaper clippings, photographs, wildlife reports that we had sent to the Pennsylvania Game Commission and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service the previous year, making our packet quite thick. And look at the last line of this section. Label each page with name and EIN number. Make sure every single page of your application, including a page with photographs on it, have the name of your organization and your EIN number on that page. You don't want to have to go back and reprint everything because you neglected to put that on every page. Now we get to the application itself. On the first page, Part 1, Identification of Applicant. This you copy directly from your state Articles of Incorporation. Make sure everything matches and is the same. Number 7, are you being represented by an attorney or an accountant? No, you're doing this yourself. Number 8, is someone being paid to manage this for you? Someone outside of your organization, like a lawyer or an accountant? The answer is no. Number 9, write in your website and your email. Number 10, are you claiming that you don't need to file yearly reports? No, you're not making such a claim. Number 11, the date you were incorporated. Remember that birth date that I told you about on your Articles of Incorporation? This is the same date. Number 12, were you formed under the laws of a foreign country? Probably not. Page 2, Part 2. Number 1, are you a corporation? Yes, you are. Attach a copy of your Articles of Incorporation. These are in the checklist and what the order is to be. And you can add these to your packet now. Just keep them in the proper order. Number 2, 3, and 4A are asking if you're something else. A limited liability company, an unincorporated, or a trust. No, you're not any of these. Question 5, have you adopted bylaws? Yes, you have. And these will also be included in your packet. And remember, in your packet, make sure that in that footer, your EIN and your name is included on every single page. Part 3 of the application asks for those provisions that we explained to you earlier as we were creating the bylaws and as we were creating the Articles of Incorporation. We made sure that we included certain parts and certain wording so that we're 501c3 compliant. This is the part of the application that asks, where are those provisions? Where is your 501c3 compliant purpose statement? Well, that statement was an addendum to Part 3 in your Articles of Incorporation. It's also included in your bylaws. So what we do is we check mark this section and we pencil in or pen in Articles of Incorporation, page 1, number 3. We're telling them where they can find that statement. The second question asks, do you have 501c3 compliant dissolution statement? Yes, you do. Where is it? It is in your Articles of Incorporation. So what we do is we write that in there. Articles of Incorporation, page 3, addendum, letter C. Part 4 asks for a narrative. Now, I don't expect you to have to write it. We've already done that for you, and it's in your handout that's listed below. Using an attachment, describe your past, present, and planned activities in a narrative. We've included what we have typically added for wildlife rehabilitation centers to this narrative. You can adjust that document to fit the needs of your organization. Here in your narrative, you definitely want to include wildlife rehabilitation and a narrative about wildlife rehabilitation and what it is. If you plan any time in the future on offering public education or public wildlife hotline, programs for schools, publishing information, if you want educational material on your website, which I'm sure you do, anything at all you hope to do in the future, you can add this here in your narrative. Write down exactly what you are doing or what you hope to achieve in the future. In this narrative, we're also going to describe each activity thoroughly. We're going to completely make sure that the person reading this understands what it's about. How much of your resources are devoted to this? Who benefits? And this isn't just the wildlife, this is also the public. You're going to describe your history. Do you have wildlife rehabilitation permits? Are you seeking them? Do you have a personal history, or is there a history behind this organization? Did you do this work on your own in the past, and it's now going to be conducted as a corporation? When and where are these activities going to be conducted? How do these activities further your exempt purpose? And how will you be funded? All of those are outlined in the handout below. And like I said, go through it very thoroughly, have some fun with it, make it your own.